Cheers, and welcome to Agranak Studios. Today we're going to be talking about making connections with NPCs, or rather NPCs your players will care about.
Hey there, it's DM's off. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you know when we upload new videos.
I just started a month-long campaign in my homebrew world called Samhain. And it's a Halloween-themed campaign setting that has a lot of the awesome flavors that I love about Halloween. We are using EZD6 for this campaign. And I gotta say, I fucking love this rule set. My Patreon supporters are watching as this campaign setting is developing, and I'm putting out PDFs every few weeks. Because it's a really short campaign, only 4 sessions long, I needed to get the characters connected not only together, but also with a certain NPC. And quick, let me give you the background. There are 5 kids. Think Stranger Things, Scooby-Doo, that sort of thing. They're all ranging between the ages of 10 and 13. They're in a club called the Lost Souls. They have a leader, and her name's Abigail. She's about 2 years older than the oldest in the actual group. She's an NPC. They occupy a dolmen as their clubhouse. At the start of my session last night, I didn't feel like I had it all together. I had some notes, and I knew that I wanted to start them off at a funeral of their leader, Abigail. I knew I wanted to start at some point at the beginning of the night at the funeral. My thought at first was to just say, they're at the funeral, your leader has died. But that didn't really drive the point home. It didn't really create any real connections starting it off that way. That might have been fine for a one-shot, but not for a 4-session campaign, at least in my book. What I wanted was a deeper, more lasting emotional connection. What I did was something that I typically do at the beginning of a long-term campaign, and that is create character connections between all of the characters. Inside of the campaign setting, there are different counties. There's 6 of them. They're called the Hexatic counties, and they're in the Black Bog Goatland. And by the way, the players picked where they wanted to start. I didn't have any preconceived notions in regards to that. All I said was, we're in the Samhain Vale. Pick a county, and then pick a town. After that, they picked the town of Deadwater. Now, one of the main things is I wanted to make sure that each character was connected to this NPC named Abigail, their leader. So I had them all establish their connections with her. I went around the table and said, what is a memory that you cherish that you've had with Abigail? Now we have the 5 kids. I'll just read this off. There's Thorn. He's a rascal, which is a thief type. He's 12 and a half years old, loves boats and books, and his girlfriend, Amber. He does steal the books, as it were. Amber is a beastmaster, druid type, 13 years old, loves her cousin, hangs out with squirrels, and loves to go and hang out near the fence of the town. That's the border to the outside world, and you don't want to be outside any town in the Samhain Vale, especially after dark. Then there's Ethel. She's a conjurer of the seer type, and she's 10 years old. Her mentor is Abigail. She speaks with her late grandmother all the time, and she has an imp familiar named Maggot. Then there's Tobias. He's a brute, 12 years old. The brutes are like barbarians. Alaric Mallory, who is the mayor of the town, is his uncle. He spends a lot of time pushing boulders and different things around, carts and whatnot, to build up his muscles. And he likes to find things in the forest. Loves hanging out under the bridge of Deadwater. There's a main bridge there. And then Ian is Tobias's brother, and so he's a warden, ranger type, 13 years old. Wants to be a woodland ranger of some renown because he thinks his hometown sucks. He's good with a bow, he's a marksman type, and he's good at sneaking around. He hates the undead. As a side note, he tries to not curse a lot. So Abigail Mallory is the daughter of the town mayor. She's 15 years old. She's a conjurer type. I really made her with a witchy flavor because I love witches in my games. And a leader and really a mother to these kids. I have everyone create a connection with Abigail as we went around the table. I think they were sensing that something was up. Like, why are we spending so much time on this NPC? Then I did a cut to, and I did a few fade to blacks and cut twos last night where we didn't go from point A to point B to point C, but we just went from here's a scene and here's the next scene. I have everyone at the Dolmen, their clubhouse, and they're having a meeting. And Abigail stands up and she says, there are bogmen. Zombies, really, that are in the bog. And they've been laying underneath the water. And they've got to go and make sure that they're dead. So they all have knives, and so they run towards this bog, and they're going to plunge their knives into these bogmen's head. Ethel, the conjurer, because she's of the seer type, starts sensing something is evil, something is afoot. And 3 of these bogmen rise up. And they have a wonderful battle. Ian shoots one with an arrow, others that are smashed by Tobias, magic that is strewn about. Oh, it's pretty fun little battle. And they're all victorious. At one point, I described Abigail as kind of floating across the land. One of the players even said, oh, is she a ghost? And I said, no, she's not a ghost. She just has this way about her. The battle ends. Everything is awesome. Yay. They get to learn a little bit about the Easy D6 system, which they've never played before, and it's a wonderful time. And they're victorious. Then I get quiet, and I say, you're at a graveyard, and you're at a funeral. The person that is interning the person that had died says, Abigail Mallory was a fine lass. Too young to die. So much potential. So with this fade to black, this cut to, all of a sudden the table goes silent. And everybody is kind of affected emotionally. Because I had this sort of leading up that was happening. I got choked up while I was explaining and narrating this. Tears were welling in my eyes. I think 3 out of the 5 players it was happening to as well. After the funeral was done, they all wanted to go to the dolmen because that's where the scene of the murder took place. They needed to investigate. So they take off and they go there. While they're searching around the dolmen, they find a treasure chest. They open it up and they find that it is Abigail's treasure chest. Inside of it is a gift that each one of these kids had gifted to her. She had treasured these things so much. They went around the table again. What was the gift? One was a bow and another was a shiny rock or an interesting rock that another had given, and so on and so forth down the line. More emotions, welling of tears in the eyes. It was kind of crazy, but there was a connection there. During the Bogman fight, some of them were suspecting that Abigail was going to die in this fight. Because I noticed that at the table, I decided not to make her die in this battle. Again, I am trying to create tension here. And so if I had written down that they start at the funeral, that wasn't that good. So we created connections. If I had started this combat and she died there, that would have been better, but not amazing, or not at that next level at least. So as they're suspecting this, I'm thinking, don't do that. Don't kill her now. And so she makes it to the end. But then I twist things around and cut to the new scene. Abigail is dead. It's her funeral. A hush comes over the table. People already within this first 45 minutes to an hour of us playing are already connected with this one NPC. So they make a check to see if they find anything in the area. About 500 feet away is the clue. There's a knife from some cultists that are in the area that are a part of the sect called the Affinity of the Soul, S-O-L-E, as in one. It is a monotheistic cult, and they now have a clue. And then we went on from there. Within the Samhain Vale, there is a holiday called Ancestors' Harvest, where everybody in the Samhain Vale pilgrimages all the way to what's called the Pumpkin Meadowland. This is near a place called Pumpkin Town, and this happens every year. People go and pick these pumpkins. During that, there are witches there, good witches, that are piling all these kind of messed up pumpkins together, and they chant out, pumpkin rot, pumpkin rot, pumpkin rot, and this basically pumpkin golem forms, and it cuts off the heads of those that are not honorable to the tribe. Typically, thieves are the target. And you guessed it, our thief Thorn was the target. And all the kids gathered together to take down this beast. They were victorious. It was an awesome battle. 3 days after this gathering and picking of the harvest is another holiday called Manifestation. And within the game world, it is a time where after they carve the pumpkins, the ancestors of those people that carved the pumpkins inhabit, usually one, inhabit the pumpkin and actually converse with the family for 3 days. What the kids are thinking is that perhaps they can get Abigail to inhabit this pumpkin. Time will tell. We ended before the holiday of Manifestation. We're going to find out what happens next time. Make sure you come back and tune in next week to find out what happens. So how can we use this in our games? If you need an NPC to connect the people to, I really think that you need to be black and white when it comes to NPCs. If you depict NPCs as though they're good and wholesome and pure, typically your characters, your players really, are going to latch on to them and connect to them. Evil characters, no problem. They know that they're evil, they're bad, they're on the outskirts. The ones that are in the middle, that you're trying to play on the fence, it's really hard to do. And so there will be half, if not 75% of your table that will take those that are in the neutral realm, kind of saying things that might be considered good or evil or whatever, and they will put them on the bad guy side. And that's just been my experience having played for 30 some odd years. If you want to create connections, a main thing that you want is make sure that whoever the NPC is 120% for the characters in the game. All right, that's update number 1. I'm going to be coming out with one of these every single week to kind of overview. And actually, if you want to hear the raw audio of our session, and it's not of the greatest quality, it's just an iPad in the center of the table. So some people are louder than others, and there's a lot of antics in between a lot of the sessions. But if you scrub through, you can find these key points, and you can listen to exactly what went on. You can join our Patreon for as little as $2 a month. If you want to dabble and see what we're doing with the Samhain Campaign book, then you'll need the Banshee tier or above. The link to the Patreon is down in the dungeon. Also, we have links to our Discord. That's slowly growing, but we are creating a community there. So come on by and check it out. Thanks for stopping by Agranak Studios today. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers! This video is brought to you by the generous support of our patrons. Consider becoming a patron. There's a link down in the dungeon. Down there. Also, we have links to other places that Agranak Studios is at.
Alright, do this and do that and do this and do that. And watch this video.